want to get all up and dancing and all that kind of stuff, we are doing a very special week with some special interviews that inform, inspire, and invigorate. And that's what we're doing. And today we're going to be talking with the incredible Victoria Hallman. We know her from HeeHaw. We know her from years on the road performing. She's got an album coming out, and just what a story. What a story. We're going to do the sponsors of our show at the beginning of the show, but stay tuned because you're going to want to enjoy this wonderful conversation with Victoria Hallman.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
We are here with the absolutely stunningly beautiful Victoria Hallman. Uber fan. I just think, whatever you got, you need to bottle up and be part of the to tell people, how do you keep all of this going? I mean,
Woo!
Goodness.
Thank you. Well, you're one to talk. I think I just told you before we went on the air that I want your dermatologist name. But thank you very much. I don't know. How am I looking?
You look fantastic. Former HeeHaw honey. HeeHaw was very, very good to you, wasn't it?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I went on the show, as you know, as one of the Buckaroos, I was singing with Buck Owens. And never dreamed. I just didn't think those girls, the HeeHaw honeys, were so beautiful, as you know. And it never occurred to me that I might become one. But apparently they thought HeeHaw honey. And, I was on the show. I always tell people I was on the show for 10 years. But somebody corrected my math just recently and said, Victoria, if you went on in 79 and 89 was your last year, that's 11 years, darling. Oh, seems like, yeah, okay, it's 11 years. But then I noticed I've got to correct this, my bio on Omnivore Recordings, which we'll talk about in a minute, says 8 years, has locked off one of the years. So who knows? I might have been on 20 or 30 years, but I was on HeeHaw for really, who knows?
Hey, as much as it's syndicated, you're on forever because
forever. Well, and that is true. There's so many reruns. I'm still on HeeHaw, and I'm still a HeeHaw honey. Yay!
That's right. That's right.
So good.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your music, because a lot of people didn't realize that HeeHaw had, had you in the cornfield, had whatever, but you were a singer first and foremost.
That's exactly right. And the people in Birmingham who see this will be going, yes, she was. Mm-hmm. That's what I was. I was a singer. Although when I moved to Los Angeles, I did study method acting for a very long time and was in master's class and actor studio and all that. So I had that background somewhat too. But I met Buck Owens, and do you want me to tell that story?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, I had been opening for Bob Hope, which is pretty darn good, and he introduced me to a manager who booked the Orange Fair, which is a big fair like they used. They had a big grandstand show. We used to have those at the fairs, grandstands. So one day I was going to the fair with my manager, not to sing, just to go, because I was, I think, 23 years old and wanted to ride the roller coaster and whatever, going to the fair. And he said, well, I'm not sure you're going to be happy with this show today. There was a matinee and an evening show. He said, because you're not really that into country music, and it's Buck Owens. And I went, well, actually, in my hometown of Centerville, Alabama, Buck Owens was played on the regular radio stations.
Yeah.
I grew up on Buck Owens, so that's okay. And so I went out, rode the rides and everything while my manager actually watched the matinee. And then we were leaving. So I had to rush back in, and we had to be back in LA by nightfall. So my manager told me. I rushed back in with my hair all askew from the roller coaster, 10 times, riding it 10 times. And I entered a doorway and went around a corner and ran smack into this man and looked up and up and up, and it was Buck Owens. Holy cow, what have I done? Well, Buck, it was tall anyway, but in his cowboy boots and his big hat, he was like 6'6", or something with all that added. I'm 5'3", so I was, and my manager magically appeared by me. Of course he did. I've just, his clients just run into Buck Owens, and he said, hello, Buck, and they shook hands, and he said, this is Vicki Hallman, which was my name then. I mean, Victoria's my name, but nickname.
Yeah.
And he said, she's a really good little country singer, and you need a girl in your act. Well, it was true. Buck almost always did have a girl in his act, and he didn't. So his manager was standing by him, Jack McFadden, and he said, well, Jack, he said, why don't we take her in the dressing room and get Don and his guitar, and let's see how she sounds. So I'm listening. Well, see, I had never sung country music. I was a rock singer. Then I was, and not, kind of a Great American Songbook and that, but never country. So, I mean, there were plenty of people in Alabama who could sing country without me having to do it, right? So we went in the dressing room, and I was kind of looking around, not knowing. I really didn't understand what was going on. We were just, I had kind of heard that. So Buck was sitting there with his hand kind of draped over his red, white, and blue guitar. And in comes this tall guitar guy, got his guitar, and he came in, and Buck said, Don, this is Vicki Hallman, and she's going to sing a song for us. And all of a sudden I was like, I am? I didn't say that, but I'm just kind of, I'm grasping, wait a minute, what? I'm singing? So he said, what you want to sing? And I couldn't remember, I couldn't think of a country song that I knew all the words to, literally. I was like, what am I going to sing? He's a country guy, got to sing country. All of a sudden I said, help me make it through the night, key of A. Well, it was a pop song, but it was country, it was country enough. So I sang it, and Buck said, well, that was good. He said, why don't you come out on stage and sing it with us? And there's 5,000 people in the audience. And I went, okay.
That's the answer. Say yes, and then figure the rest out.
Kathy Mattea used to be my neighbor for a long time, and she said, whoa, that took guts. And I said, well, what would you have done? And she said, I would have asked him if I could send him a demo tape. And I said, and you wouldn't have gotten the job either. Of course, Kathy did okay without getting that job, we all know. But still, so I went out on stage later, came out, went on stage, sang the song, got a standing ovation, mostly probably because Buck was saying, let's hear it for, how they do. And he turned to me as I was exiting and said, they want to hear another one. What you want to sing? Well, now I got to come up with 2 country songs. And this was a test. I now know, after having been with Buck and the Buckaroos for a long time. And I said, when will I be loved? And he said, what key? And I said, I don't know. Just play it. So he picked the right key, of course, because his ear was that good. And I sang it and exited, and then he did his show, finished his show, and he had brought me out in the middle of the show. Coming off stage, I stepped forward. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you. And he said, well, it was our pleasure. And he said, we'll be in touch. And my manager said, now don't get your hopes up, because that, and I was like, I knew that didn't sound like I was getting a gig. It didn't sound very promising. And he called the next day.
Wow.
Buck Owens called my house. Now, his manager was probably on the phone with my manager, but Buck actually called me and said, could you come up to Bakersfield? We'd like to get you in the studio, see how you sounded. I said, sure. I didn't know where Bakersfield was. I mean, I was living in Los Angeles. I'd better say that right now. I didn't know where Los Angeles was. I didn't have a car. But of course, as you said, sure was the right answer.
You say yes and figure the rest
You
out.
say
That is your
yes.
life.
I just keep saying yes until somebody tells you no. So I took the bus and rode the bus up to Bakersfield. I found out where it was, and he took me in the studio. The Buckaroos were there, and we sat. I had the night before, after he called, I had borrowed every country record I could from all my friends and learned, as many country songs as possible. And I sang, and he took me into his office afterwards and said, we're going to have to do something about transportation for you because you're going to be having to come up here. So, boom, got the gig. So
that's amazing.
Opening act, backing vocalist, both, and the rest is history. Yeah. So that's how
it's history that's coming brand new on Record Store Day, April 23rd with the release.
No, it's I told you wrong. It's April 22nd.
I thought it was the 22nd because I got
22nd. I'm sorry. Is this the 23rd? I have something coming this 23rd. Okay. Alabama Music Hall of Fame is March 23rd. Got them confused.
See, you got all those things happening.
A lot going on.
And you do have a lot going on.
Yeah. But the record is, that's the biggest. I've never been this excited about anything, I don't think. And as far as my career.
Let's talk about this record from Birmingham to Bakersfield.
Yeah.
When was this recorded, Victoria?
That's the story. It was recorded in 1982. Buck Owens called me one morning, I remember. I was still in bed, and he said, I woke up this morning with a song going round and round in my head, can't get out of my head. And he said, I think we ought to cut it on you. He said, in fact, I think we ought to cut in a whole album. And again, when I first met him, I went, okay. I just never realized what big stuff this was. It was like, okay, Buck. So we cut an album. Buck was going through what I would call not a midlife crisis, but mid-career crisis at the time. Mm-hmm. He was kind of searching for what he wanted to do next, kind of thing. And I was going through a marriage crisis, a lot of bad stuff. We cut the whole album, finished it, mastered it, everything, and just kind of never really did anything with it. It fell through the cracks. So fast forward to 2006, the year Buck died, and his legend, even after he sort of semi-retired, continued to grow and grow. He's like Mount Rushmore, more of country music now.
Right.
And so I thought, I think we should, come out with that record. Well, these days you can, if you want to, just put an album out yourself. Mm-hmm. I didn't really want to do it that way, and I didn't do it that way. But I called Jim Shaw he's like the face of Buck Owens now. He runs everything up there in Bakersfield. And I said, remember that album we cut in 1982? And he said, yeah, I wrote 4 songs on it. And I was like, well, don't you think we ought to put it out? And he said, yeah. He said, I'd love to release it. Obviously, he, had 4 songs, and he was co-producer. So he said, let me find the master, and, we'll do it. So a few days later, he called back and said, that master is nowhere in the studio or in the archives or anywhere. It's disappeared. And he said, you must have it. And I went, not me. So we even began asking people we thought we might have given cassettes to. You know how you just I started calling friends, and of course, no one after that many years still had their cassette, thing. Mm-hmm. So we just finally gave up and thought, okay, that's lost in the sands of time. That's just gone forever, which broke my heart, of course. But
of course,
I had to accept it because we just looked everywhere and it was nowhere. Till I moved back to Birmingham 2019, right before COVID hit, actually. I had written a book, as you know, because you interviewed me about the book. And I was a member of the Authors Guild in New York. They got in touch and said some person whose name I'd never heard, Joe Cornelis, hi Joe, was trying to get in touch with me. And was it okay if they forwarded his email? And I said, okay, So what had happened? He was a record collector. And he said that he had found one of my albums. It was an album with my name on it at a garage sale in Los Angeles. And I went, oh, now I had cut an album in Birmingham much before I went, long before all this. And I thought, well, I only have one copy of that album, and that's it. I wouldn't mind having it. I said, well, tell me what it is. What is this? So he said, well, I'll send you the list of names that are of the songs. I was in my car waiting for my husband to come out of a store, I saw that I started reading the list of names, and I started literally screaming. It was the long lost Buck Owens produced album.
Oh,
It was an acetate. You know what an acetate
yeah.
is. A lot of people don't, so I'll just say, they're kind of old fashioned. They were little, very brittle, not ever meant to be permanent, only meant to be played 2 or 3 times. Little, they looked like an album. They were black plastic acetate of some sort, easily scratched, easily broken. But Buck, I now know, always wanted to hear things on the turntable. He didn't like doing it with cassette or anything else, and nothing else existed then. So he would always have an acetate made of everything he did. So that had to be what this was. So the guy was very nice. He didn't charge me a dime for it. Once he heard the story, he sent it to me. He was in Los Angeles, a yard sale in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And it came to me. So, yeah. So then COVID hit, and I was wondering, what am I going to do? Do I want a label? Actually, my friend Charlie McCoy said, hey, you don't need to put this out yourself, because somebody at the right label is going to want it. And of course, somebody at the right label did. So now it's finally, after much back and forth about what to do, where to do, it's being put out by a Los Angeles label. So it's kind of back, it's like from Birmingham to Bakersfield. It's kind of gone back to where it started in a way, because Buck Owens started in Los Angeles, his recording career. And it's all come full circle, and it's like a miracle. Yeah.
It is so fun and so wonderful, and I cannot wait. Now, are you going to do some things like video or anything with some of the songs? Or
yeah, well, right now they've released one single. It's called "Bottle Up My Tears," and they're releasing another single. I think this is all prior to Record Store Day. But they do it, when you sign with a label, the thing is, you're no longer really in control. I mean, they are nice enough to give me say so on some things, but I didn't even know the first single had come out until somebody told me. Bottle Up My Tears. And then there's another one that's coming out, the second single. I'm not sure the date. It's called Lay Your Heart on Mine. And it was actually written by a Birmingham songwriter who became not a songwriter. I ran into him one day when we were cutting the album that Buck produced, and he handed me this song, and it's the one that they chose as the second single. So it's a nice thing, that he's going to be very surprised.
Well, I'm excited. April 22nd, Record Store Day, the vinyl of this amazing record. It's like
beautiful.
Tangible, real record. And from Birmingham to Bakersfield, VictoriaHallman.com is how you can get all of Victoria's information.
Yeah.
Actress, author, singer, performer, and part of the HeeHaw legacy. Will you be touring again are you going to put together a HeeHaw show again? Or I know
that's all. Been thinking about touring, thinking about maybe doing a show at the Crystal Palace in Bakersfield. It's kind of all this came. It was a long, slow thing, and then it all happened very fast. So I'm like, what do I do? I guess I need an agent again. I guess all that. It's just kind of, my career has come back. And so now I'm trying to put all the things in place, manager, agent, I've got a great publicist, but so I really don't know the answers yet. I'm just waiting, for everything to happen.
I'm just so excited that's happening for you, because I think that it's really important for people to pursue. And I love how you pursued something that actually pursued you.
Yes. And that's what happened. This fell into my lap. God put this in my lap twice. And second time, he meant for me to do something with it. So
yes, he did. He did.
So I did. And here we are.
Well, you inspire me in so many ways. I just love your story. And please, will you come back and let's talk again?
Yes. Thank you, Devon.
Victoria Hallman, you're always a joy. Thank you.
You are precious. Love you.
No. Thank you. One last time. My family thought I was off my rocker. I remember my brothers called an intervention. They said, "What is your major malfunction, little brother?" I wondered if they were right. But I had to admit to myself, I couldn't waver from my decision. Why? Had to find out.
Hello to all our friends at the Nashville Zoo. We are here in the Brazilian Cerrado, adjusting the collar on a juvenile albino giant anteater. And this is a very special giant anteater. As you can see from his color, he's very different. This is the world's only known albino giant anteater. And we have now been monitoring him for 4.5 months since he's left his mother's back. And we are trying to understand how he is adapting in this altered habitat, how he's impacted by temperature, and how he's moving through the landscape, and trying to get to know him a little bit better to compare him with the other juveniles and all the other anteaters that we are studying. As you can see, this coloration does not offer him a great advantage. He's very conspicuous. So we are wishing him all the best. And carefully monitoring him.
Let me try that again. There's so many things going on in Nashville. I wanted to tell you some of those. I was looking up some of the things that are happening. Let me make sure that I've got my calendar in front of me so I can follow along and find out some of the things that we can find. Market in the Park has already been, so let me get to, here's what's coming up. The Spring Fling, it's coming up, the Nashville Flea Market. Lots of things for sale, lots of things to do. And should you be looking for a job and you've always had kind of a feel for the forestry industry, well, there is a class coming up. If you want to become a master logger, the Tennessee Department of Agriculture has started a 5-day course. It's coming in May of 2023. You can go online and get information about it by going to tn.gov/Department of Agriculture. And the Department of Agriculture is the one that's doing these courses, and it's really, really cool. Right now, a lot of people are looking at their houses and they're doing some spring cleaning on the inside, but they're also doing some spring cleaning on the outside. And you're thinking, what I might do with maybe a tax refund? What might I do in creating something to make my space just a little bit better? I want to tell you about my friends at Mid-South Exteriors. Mid-South, whether it's windows, you might have some leakage going on in the windows. You just might have some issues with your electric bill being extra high because there are leaks in your windows. Maybe you need some new siding. Maybe it has been beat to death with all of the storms that we've had. Well, I tell you where to go. They make your house look like the sunroom or the extra rooms or the new windows came with the house, only brand new.
Hi, I'm Brenda Fielder. At Mid-South Exteriors, our custom sunrooms bring the sunshine in without all the heat and the bugs. And they keep you warm all winter while you enjoy the outdoors all year round. They add real value because we build them like your house to match your house. Or let us save you energy by replacing your windows and old siding. And because we have no retail overhead, we come to you and sell direct to you for less. Call us at 833-8003 or visit us at MidSouthExteriors.com.
I was just talking to Brenda Fielder that was in that video right there. And she said, because things change, like, siding has changed over the years, and you might have some siding that's a little bit dated. Well, now they're replacing that with hardy board, and they do hardy board siding as well. So it looks really cool if you want that New England look, if you want something that's updated. Maybe the color is something that was really popular back in the 80s. And you want something changed, the easiest, the most affordable thing to do is just change the siding. And they've got all the information. Well, we love to have our daily yummy, and I'd like to share that with you now. We're going to go down to my Cajun buddies, Mr. Tony Satchery. Yeah. Did you know that Tony's, the seasoning that I cannot live without, Tony's has salad dressing too? I did not know this. And it has changed everything. Oh my goodness. I am so glad that you guys have been part of this show. We are having a very special week. Keep check on my page because I'm going to be doing some lives from Ireland and some of the things that we're doing. We're going to take you right along with us. But I'm not going to let you go here at our coffee break that we have every day here on Main Street Television. Don't forget to download our app. In case you missed something, you can always go back and see any of our shows because they're archived at Main Street Television. Main Street Media Television. You go get that app and you can put it on Roku. You can watch it on your TV. You can cast it to your television. It is just awesome. And you can get all that and it's free. See, that's the cool part. It's free. That's very cool. That's very cool. It is our very special week. So keep it right here because we've got people like Willie Golden who are going to be on the show with us. My financial advisor to the stars, Chris Miller, will be. She's just amazing. Got some money stuff to tell you about. But just keep it right here. Main Street Today. Follow, subscribe, and share. Be safe and be kind. And remember, most of all, you are loved.
Main Street, we are your Main Street today.